Okay, let's talk about the palace intrigue a little bit more, all right? We're talking about what Orrin Hatch decides to do. Does he run? Does he not run? And if he doesn't, who's next? All right, who takes this? Matt?
So Orrin Hatch is doing everything to run. He's putting himself out there more, he's raising money, he's increasing his profile. All that said, I don't think he does it at the end of the day. I think he's going to stretch this out to the point where no one else can run but Governor Mitt Romney, who has such broad name recognition, is beloved in the state, who could create a campaign on a dime, and he will become our next senator. That's my guess.
That's a prediction there, Representative.
Orrin Hatch has a hard time seeing himself as anything other than Senator of the United States. And I think at the end of the day, I'm in the minority on this in all likelihood, but that's not unfamiliar. At the end of the day, I think he's going to end up saying, I'm going to run again. Because I think enough people are going to come to him and say, you've got to do it. The thing that, if anything, dictates that he doesn't run, it's that it's such a terrible atmosphere to be in the U.S. Senate with Donald Trump as the President of the United States and the head of your party and the leader of the country. I think that creates heartburn for every member of Congress.
But what do you make of the comments from Orrin Hatch that if Mitt Romney says yes, I'd feel good about stepping down?
Well, Mitt Romney hasn't said yes, and I don't think Mitt Romney is going to Bigfoot his way into that race. I think he's going to defer to what Orrin wants to do.
Okay, Mara?
What Orrin wants to do, I'll start with that. I agree with Matt that I think he's going to wait until Senator Hatch is going to wait until the last minute. I think he's going to keep fundraising. I think he's still going to keep networking. I think he's going to keep up perceptions. I think at the last minute he won't. What we hear from everybody is that if Orrin were hand selecting, he, of course, Mitt's in play for him, but Chris Stewart, Representative Stewart, is who he would like to see take his seat.
I've
So
heard
I'm
that.
going to,
Heard that rumor? What has to happen? If it's not Orrin and it's not Mitt Romney, what does Chris Stewart have to do?
He needs to get Orrin Hatch to run his campaign and fund his campaign. Chris Stewart is not a person who's raised a lot of money. He's not well known throughout the state. He would need to actually get the support of Orrin Hatch and Mitt Romney to bolster him quickly.
And just for fun, let's point out then he leaves an open congressional race, and Ben McAdams does live in his district.
Maybe there's some strategy in that.
Dominoes.
Well, and Jenny Wilson is running for the Democrats for U.S. Senate. I think she'd have a much easier time running against Chris Stewart than she would running against either Orrin Hatch or Mitt Romney, obviously. And so, you know, I wouldn't mind at all seeing Orrin Hatch step down and Chris Stewart take a run, because I think that gives the Democrats in the state of Utah the best shot at maybe a pickup there.
Okay, just one bit of insight. Any other names you're hearing out there that may have decided they want to be the next senator for the state?
I've heard Mia Love is expressing interest in that race, which I think would be interesting. She's a fierce campaigner and a good fundraiser, but she has higher negatives than the other members of Utah's congressional delegation, so that would be a little bit of a challenge.
I'm going to bring up Derek Miller only because he is a quintessential policy guy. He's seeped in, he has a position at World Trade that has given him some management experience. I'm not sure where he is, so I'll just say that. But I want to give a shout out to these substantive, hard-working, policy-driven folks who don't have name ID and have that challenge to get over. So Derek Miller's name's been in the hopper for a few months, and I'd like to keep it in.
All right. Anything else from your representative?
No, I think that if you had neither Senator Hatch nor Mitt Romney run, I think that's a race that a guy like Ben McAdams may look at. But by that time, I think he will have committed to CD4, and he's not going to switch at that point.
One great thing about this conversation is there's going to be a time when we're going to know who was right.
That's right.
All right, we'll try to remember that. All right, thanks for your conversation today.
Thanks.
Thank you.